Moving to Israel? Awesome. Acclimated to life here? Not as awesome. Welcome to Oleh Chadash Toolbox Talk. Tips and tricks to help you acclimate to your life here in Israel.
Welcome to another installment of Olim Paveway's Toolbox Talks for Olim. 28 minutes of Tachlis. My name is Sid Slifko, and this week's topic is the art of the deal: when, where, and how to bargain. I'll be the presenter tonight, and I ask that if you have any questions, please save them for the end. Now, I just want to point out transparency, because that's my way. From my own personal record in history, one might presume that I'm the last person in the world to talk about bargaining. Let me explain. I made Aliyah at the age of 47 from the United States. One of the items that I brought with me when I moved to Israel was my strong distaste, in fact, you can almost call it hatred, bordering on fear of bargaining. The truth is, I remember how my mom, Aleh Shalom, used to take me clothes shopping in South Philly when I was a kid. And after putting the salesman through the ringer and having me try on suit after suit after suit, and getting him to agree to make this alteration and this adjustment, she inevitably began to bargain with him to cut the price for one reason or another. She was an immigrant. Her husband was a rabbi, and so on and so forth. And that was my cue to start looking at my shoes, or to wishing I was invisible, or just wishing I was anywhere else but in the store. I was so embarrassed. And the truth is, I'd heard about the bargaining that goes on in Israel, and I really believe that my childhood trauma basically bred the haggling gene out of my DNA, and that I'd never be able to do that when I got to Israel. But the truth is, I learned that things are very different in Israel. And I can't say that I got over my prejudice immediately, but I will say that eventually I did get over my fear and my paranoia about bargaining. Because in Israel, bargaining is an integral part of the culture. Whether you're haggling over the price of fresh produce in the Shuk, which I do almost every week when I go to the Machane Yehuda Shuk, or open air market in Jerusalem, or if you're negotiating a deal on a home or a car, or if you're negotiating with an interviewer during a job interview, knowing how to bargain, like an Israeli, can save you money and can also earn you respect. So thank God, as I began to become more acclimated to living here, I discovered that the talent for bargaining, or skill, if you call it, wasn't totally removed. So, my first piece of advice to people who are coming to Israel from abroad, especially from America, is you need to get over the cultural aversion to bargaining. And if, like me, you're uncomfortable with the word bargaining, so use the word negotiating. It's really just semantics, but it amounts to the same thing, trying to get a price that's equitable for you. And it's not about being pushy or being respectful of the person that you're dealing with. It's about engaging in a playful and sometimes friendly exchange that really reflects the Israeli way of life. And yes, there's a certain element of one-upmanship, but you can have fun with it. So let me get you through a step-by-step guide to navigating the art of the deal, the art of bargaining, or as I said, negotiation, Israeli style. First things first, before diving into your first negotiation, it's important to understand where bargaining is appropriate and where bargaining is not. Now, in Israel, bargaining is generally expected in a number of venues. As I said, the market or the shuk, not the supermarket, but I'm talking about the open air market. And if you're living in Israel, you've got a number of open air markets from which you can choose. Whether you're buying fruit or spices or handmade goods, The Shuk is the perfect place to test your bargaining skills. You lose nothing if you bargain and you don't succeed. It's a great way to test it out and to practice. And we'll talk a little bit more about how you do it, but feel free to try it out. My first venture, I have to say, wasn't successful, but my second venture was. I chickened out halfway through. But in my second venture, I was a little bit more stalwart and I made it through. The second place to bargain would be independent shops. For example, small family run stores or kiosks. There's also often some wiggle room in prices, especially for higher ticket items, but even for small ticket items. The local supermarket, the local grocery around the corner from where I live, you strike up a conversation with the owner, you can probably get a good deal on something. Flea markets. I love flea markets, and there's so many of them to choose from. Places like Jaffa, the Jaffa flea market, which is called, believe it or not, Shuk HaPishpashim, which literally means the flea market, is a great place to do bargaining. And we have a number of places as well in Jerusalem. There's a wonderful flea market station called the First Station in Jerusalem, where they have tables all around. You can always get a bargain one way or another, or find something that you can get the owner, get the vendor to lower the price. And again, it's fun. Likewise, service providers, negotiating with tradespeople, mechanics, plumbers, electricians, even movers. It's not an uncommon thing in Israel. Generally, the prices are very, very flexible. And if you hold your ground, you can probably get a lower price than the price that's initially quoted. And again, it's not something that you're going to be cheating them. They expect that. The initial price is not necessarily the final bottom line. That comes through give and take. And that's where the bargaining comes through. And finally, of course, the best place to bargain would be in rent and real estate. If you're renting, you can definitely bargain with the person who's renting your apartment, whether it's negotiating over the furniture you want to keep, or how you or painting it or taking care of it. You can do that very easily. And likewise, when you buy a home, it's also very easy to negotiate. And it's not just something that people do in Israel. You know, of course, that they do it in the States or wherever you come from as well. That seems to be the standard operating procedure when you're buying these large ticket items, or likewise when you're buying a car. Large ticket items, as I said to somebody recently, maybe if you're uncomfortable with the word bargain, think about the word negotiate. It's being done by people in three-piece suits and ties. It's also done a lot by Israelis in t-shirts or plain white shirts. And it's always expected that the initial asking price is not going to be the final price which is decided. And when negotiating, remember, everything is on the table. Cash versus check or credit card. If you offer to pay by cash instead of credit card or check, you can probably get a lower price on something. Volume, or the amount that you're purchasing, reducing the terms of service or delivery time or other add-ons that will save the vendor time or money. All these things are part of the negotiation process. But most importantly, and I can't stress this more, and I'll be mentioning it again, do your homework. Find out what the going prices are before you actually settle on a deal. For example, as I mentioned before, I tend to go to the open air market, the Shuk in Yerushalayim, on a weekly basis. What I do is when I go to the Shuk, I check around to at least 5 or 6 other vendors to see, number one, what kind of produce they're selling and what kind of prices they're asking. And then I go to the one that has what I want, and then I try to talk them down a little. I can always say that person is selling it for a little bit less. Maybe you can bring it down. Or say, if I buy twice as much, can I get a discount? When negotiating, it's easy to do it that way. And doing your homework is very, very important. When negotiating a salary, for example, or going on a job interview, don't let the interviewer pigeonhole you into a price or into quoting a price, because very often they say, how much do you think you want to get? What salary are you looking for? Find out what other people on that level are doing, both in that company and in other companies as well. Try and get the interviewer to to put a value, not necessarily an exact price tag, but to put a value on the work they expect you to do. If they continue to press, which is often the case because they'll sometimes say, I really need a salary figure that you're comfortable with, quote the range that you found as a result of your research, but let them know that your asking price is flexible depending on the job parameters, because sometimes they may be asking for you to do more. Sometimes they may be asking for you, something that you're not comfortable, and say, I can't do that. But definitely, definitely don't be pigeonholed into going for the initial asking price. Now, with all that, I should point out that there are some places where bargaining is inappropriate, and I'd have to say it's completely off the table. Number one, chain stores, supermarkets, pharmacies, major retail chains that you'll find when you go into one of the major malls throughout Israel. You can't really bargain there. You might be able to in some places, but generally speaking, the price that's on display is the price that you're going to pay, and expect that. Um, Again, that's something that it's difficult, not impossible, but don't expect to make any great savings if you try and bargain, because it's probably not going to work. Same thing can be said, by the way, for Israeli restaurants and cafes. Price on the menu, that's the price you're probably going to pay. So expect that. Again, there are exceptions, but just presume that that's what you're going to pay. Sometimes I've gotten a nice perk if I was nice to the waiter or waitress, or if they may have made a mistake and then they'll give me a freebie. That's not uncommon, but I won't say it happens a lot. But it is the exception. But that's the exception that tends to prove the rule. Finally, don't expect to be able to haggle over fees or fines at government offices. If you get a parking ticket, you're going to have to pay the full price for the parking ticket. It's been a while, thank God, since I've gotten a parking ticket, so I don't know how much it is. By the same token, if you have to order a passport, or if you have to order a zehut or something else, and there is a fee that you have to pay, you're going to have to pay. Paying the arnona, which is the property tax. Again, the price is fixed. If you're a senior citizen, then you can probably get a discount. But they're not going to offer you that voluntarily. That you have to ask yourself. By the same token, those of us who are senior citizens, prices tend to go down when you reach a certain age, past 67, past 70, for example, on the public transportation, but they're not going to give it to you out of the goodness of their heart. You're going to have to make sure that they know that you are entitled to a discount, and then you will get it. And by the same token, somebody who is a new Olet, who is entitled to discounts on certain services from the government, again, make sure you ask. Because if you don't ask, you're not going to get it. But if you're not entitled, they will tell you, and then you'll have to pay full price. But that's natural. The other place you should not negotiate is taxis. Rule of thumb, never negotiate a taxi fare. Use the meter. The Hebrew word for meter, by the way, is moneh. And when you get into a taxi, always ask for the moned price, ask for the metered price. My wife has taught me that if I go into a taxi and the taxi driver asks me, can I do this without going on the meter? If I say no and he accepts, fine. If he tries to convince me to drive without putting it on the meter, then I leave the taxi. Why? Not because I'm trying to save money, but because it's illegal. So when they do that without activating the meter, it sounds like a bargain, but it really isn't. And I'm certainly not going to get anything out of it. If I go by the meter and I can take it off of my tax, then I get a little bit of a discount when I pay my taxes. But again, the rule of thumb, when you're in a taxi, don't go unless he does it by the price on the meter. And the bottom line here is if you're unsure whether the bargaining is appropriate, then see what others do. Or ask politely, do you offer a discount? And if they say no, generally accepted. But those are the four basic places where you should not expect to have any kind of discount as a result of negotiations. One of the most important things to understand when it comes to bargaining in Israel is that bargaining is not arguing. It's not shouting or getting angry or saying, I'm entitled to this. It's about building a rapport. It's about finding a common ground. I can tell you that after having gone to the Shuk and being friendly with some of the vendors, I've managed to get discounts on things even without asking. And it's because I respect them and they respect me and they know that I'm a repeat customer and they will allow me to get little bargains. Sometimes they'll add a little bit more stuff to what I'm buying. There was one vendor in the Shuk that every time I buy one batch of fruit, he always piles on another batch of fruit. And it's a gift. And he doesn't charge me any more. And it's wonderful. Think of it when it comes to bargaining as a friendly dance, where both sides aim to come out feeling like they've won, but they want to walk away happy and they want to feel like I made a good friendship or I made a good deal. Israelis might raise their voices and they might get animated. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're necessarily angry. It's just part of the cultural flavor, and it's certainly not a sign of disrespect. So if you're thinking of bargaining in Israel, here's the mindset that you need to adopt. Number one, be friendly. Smile. Joke with the vendor. Stay relaxed. Bargaining in Israel often includes a sense of humor. It can even be self-effacing humor. But always stay happy, always smile. Be firm, but be polite. Know your limits before you go in. If it's too much, then you can say it's too much. You don't have to give yourself away. You don't have to, I guess, from your perspective, give away the store when it comes to bargaining. Know how far you're willing to go. And don't be afraid, by the way, which is the standard practice, don't be afraid to turn away if you feel like it's not within your budget. Sometimes they'll call you back if you turn away. They'll say, listen, I'll tell you what, for you, I'll change it. But if you can't do it, turn away. Know your limits and stick to them. And finally, don't take it personally. If a seller says no, it's not an affront and it's not a rejection of you. It's business. And deal with it as business because that's what it is. And it shouldn't feel like it's a slight. So, final tips for successful bargaining. Now that you know when and where to bargain, let's talk strategy. Here are some basic tips to help you channel your inner Israeli. Number one, do your homework, as I said before. Know the approximate value of what you're buying. If you're in a market, walk around and look at the prices, compare everything before committing to a purchase. This will give you a solid baseline. Plus, it's a good way to sample material. Again, in the open market, they give away free samples, and that's always fun. So check it out and introduce yourself to the people who are there. They like that. Number two, start low. Israelis expect you to negotiate. So don't be shy about making an offer that's below the asking price. Don't go so low that's insulting. You're aiming for playful banter, not hostility. So go for it. Be playful. Have fun with it. They'll enjoy it. Number three, show genuine interest. Genuine interest. Sellers are more likely to offer a discount if they think you're serious about buying. Ask questions about the product, express enthusiasm about the product. I've gotten some wonderful material from vendors in the Shuk because I was genuinely interested in what they were selling. Use the family discount angle. Many sellers will tell you, for you, I'm giving you a special price. And this is often presented as a family discount because, let's face it, in Israel, everybody feels like they're part of your family. That's why they all go around and give you advice on how to run your family. In Israel, we're all mishpacha. It's not necessarily a discount, but it's a great opportunity to engage in the game and respond sometimes with jokingly, hey, if I'm family, then surely you can do a little better than that. You wouldn't treat your own mother that way. Bundle and save. If you're buying multiple items, use this as leverage. Sellers are more likely to lower the price if you're making a larger purchase. If you're buying one bunch of cauliflower, buy 2 cauliflowers. I know right now that in the Shuk in Yerushalayim, you can get one huge cauliflower for 6 shekels, but if you get 2 cauliflowers, they sell it to you for 10. So it seems like a small savings, but it is a savings and you can do a lot with it. So buy more to save if you can. And then, as I said last time, know when to walk away. Sometimes the best bargaining tactic is to demonstrate that you're willing to leave. And this prompts the seller sometimes to offer a better deal to keep your business. However, only use this tactic if you're really genuinely prepared to walk away. As I said before, work with your losses. Be careful and don't do it all the time. Finally, keep cash handy. Obviously, this isn't going to work for big ticket prices, but cash always gives you more bargaining power, especially in markets or small shops. It costs money to use a credit card. It certainly costs money to process a check and definitely takes additional time. If you can pay things by cash, then in all likelihood, the seller will be inclined to give you a discount to avoid those credit card fees and to avoid the extra time. So carry around some cash in case. In many ways, Israel does operate like a large family-run business. The people know each other, and deals sometimes are struck over coffee, and personal relationships do matter. Sellers aren't usually out to cheat you. They just want to get the best deal for themselves, just like you. It's a game that everybody's in on. So that being said, there is a certain pride in winning in the negotiation. Even if you didn't, you should still feel as if you're getting a lower price because this is all in good fun. And most Israelis respect a savvy bargainer. And even if they throw in an extra smile or a small freebie, they're still impressed by your skills. And that goes a long way in establishing relationships, especially if you're going to be going shopping there one more time. And now some final thoughts. Bargaining in Israel is as much about cultural exchange as it is about saving money. It's a way to connect with people, to share a laugh, to immerse yourself in this wonderful dynamic give and take that Israel is built on. So don't be afraid to dive in. Practice small. As I said, I practiced in the Shuk. You learn a lot. And remember, every interaction is an opportunity to learn more about Israel, to learn more about the people who are going to be part of your life, and to learn more about the spirit of Israel. And who knows? Maybe you'll discover that bargaining is one of the fun parts of your new life in Israel. And once you've scored the perfect deal on a beautiful, beautiful hand-woven rug or a kilo of amazing Israeli oranges, at that point you'll know that you've really and truly arrived. And that's the step towards having a successful aliyah and a successful klita. And with that, we've got another 2 minutes. If anybody has a quick question, please feel free to ask.
Sid, I'd like to add
yeah.
2 things, if I may.
Please, you've got 2 minutes.
First, as you mentioned, in Israel, you can bargain anywhere, including the banks.
Yeah.
You can go to the bank and bargain about the commission that you have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
If you're taking mashkanta or even just a regular bank account, you can bargain. And another
Yes.
thing, sometimes if you can see that you can't lower the price, it will be good to ask for more service in the same price.
Mm-hmm.
So don't ever compromise on what the offer that you get. If it doesn't willing to lower the price, almost any time you can ask for more service, for additional service. And also, sometimes, even if in the government officers, even if you're getting a ticket, even if you own money to Bituach Leumi, in many cases, you can still bargain there, but you need some help with that. I mean, in those cases, you have to take a lawyer, but the lawyer will do the bargain for you. But in many cases, even if you're taking, if you own a lot of money for parking tickets, if you're owning a lot of money to Bituach Leumi, even to Mas הכנסה, there's still room for negotiation.
Let me point out, by the way, that if somebody does find themselves in that type of predicament, there are service providers that Olim Paveway can give you who can help you negotiate if you feel that you have been wronged or you feel like you can get an extra, an extra perk through your negotiations. And with that, I'm going to end, but also tell you, if you have any more questions, if you have any more things, please feel free to go to our website or the Toolbox WhatsApp, which appears in the chat. And I wish you all a Chag Sameach, a very good week. And since it's coming up as well, Chodesh Tov to everybody.